Selwyn here from WynnStrength.com, bringing you the first day of the last week of the Darkhorse program by Brian Alsruhe. Like usual, I'll leave links below for links to Brian Alsruhe's original video where he goes over the program and exactly how to do it, as well as links to the free Liftboard website where they've taken that information and placed it into a free Google spreadsheet so you can do the program at home without having to worry about doing too much Excel spreadsheet entering it. So here we go. So the first day last week brings in another change for the antagonist movement. We've had 3 different movements now. Each week I'm trying to change it, other than I'm just kind of lost right now. Didn't want to do the prescribed movements. I've been experimenting with different movements along the way. Today I actually stumbled on the stiff leg deadlift as a variant. I think this should have been the movement I used from the start. But hey, lesson learned, and here we are. So we're trying to do some stiff-legged deadlifts for 8 reps for 6 sets, and then we're giant setting that with some Anderson squats for a heavy single, and then wood choppers and mountain climbers. So unfortunately for this week, like usual, the common theme is we're dropping out a lot of the working sets. So instead of doing 6 sets, we only did 4 sets across. We worked our way up. So the stiff leg deadlift start off, we did 245 for sets of 8, and we moved on to 265 for sets of 8 for the last 3 sets there. And then for the Anderson squats, we did start off at 275, work our way up in jumps, 315, 335, and then we went for a little bit of a stretch today. I loaded 365 onto the bar. Haven't done that before, 365 in the lower position. I did fail the first attempt. I kind of reset, gave myself a couple of seconds, and then tried it again, and I was able to grind out that final heavy single for a new Anderson squat PR, whatever that's worth. But we did hit 365 for a heavy single after failing at the first time. That's kind of why I stopped the rest of the work. I figured if I failed and get it, that's probably a good amount of work there. I'm really not a fan of failing and reattempting, but considering I was going to have a rest week the next week, and this was the final week of the program, I figured I would just push it just that little bit, kind of overreach, and try and get that new PR there just to solidify up the program. And then following that, we just did some wood choppers with 20-pound dumbbells, as well as some mountain climbers, and that's for the max effort work. Again, nothing crazy with the abs and conditioning, just simple movements. I'm happy with the stiff leg deadlift. The stiff-legged deadlift differs from the remaining deadlift insofar as you're still kind of keeping that straight, stiff leg, loose knees, but you do want to touch the weight on the bottom, whether that's touch and go or you reset each time. It's a personal preference. I kind of like the touch and go. It gets a little bit of an overload movement for the deadlift. This is compared to a regular deadlift where I don't like to do that touch and go style deadlift. I prefer to reset at the end of each rep of the deadlift if I'm doing anything obviously over a heavy single. That's just so I can get that reset movement in there and train the deadlift from a dead stop. So when you start doing the bouncing movements off of the floor, whether that be touch and go deadlifts or like you're actually forcefully bouncing it to get a rebound, you're removing probably the hardest part of the deadlift, which is that initial start. So whether that be I am re-gripping the bar because the bar fell in a weird position, I need to reset, I'll stand up again, refresh, and then go back down, or I just reset from the bottom and then just take another deep breath and then pull the barbell up there. So that's kind of what differs with the stiff leg deadlift. So I'm just kind of touching and going and getting a little bit more of that, getting a little bit of that stretch reflex at the bottom of each rep, which hopefully should transfer over to a little bit of an overload and ability to lift heavier weight than usual because I'm using that momentum and that little bounce on the bottom of each and every deadlift. Anderson squat, kind of complete opposite. We want to eliminate any of that momentum stretch reflex at the bottom. So we are just resting the barbell on the pins at the bottom and then kind of deloading the legs but staying tight in the torso and whatnot, and then standing back up. Today was heavy singles, so that doesn't really apply here because we're not repping it out. But when you do rep out the Anderson squats, you do want to come to a stop on the bottom and then wait a second because that will force you to remove any of that momentum and then come back up. And much like a box squat, you don't want to bounce the bar on the pins. If anything, you don't want to do that just so it saves your equipment. Because, I mean, if you're working out at home, you paid a lot of money for your equipment, and the last thing you want to do is damage that equipment for no other reason. So whatever your training philosophy may be, you might be like, yeah, I'll just dump it on the pins because it doesn't matter for your hypertrophy, strength development. I think it matters more for equipment longevity. Don't do that just because you're going to wreck either the knurling on the barbell or the curve of the barbell or even the safety pins, which you might not care about, but it's all going to just have an effect with that you don't really want. So save yourself some problems in the long run and just gently sit the barbell down onto the pins and then let it rest and then squat back up again. From there, we move on to our volume work for the day, which was, again, stiff leg deadlifts. We kept the weight the same, so we just did 265, same weight, same reps. I just wanted to get some volume in. It wasn't too heavy, so I wasn't worried about dropping the weight or increasing the reps. So let's just keep it as it is. And then we switch over the Anderson squats to some box squats. So similar movement where we take out that stretch reflex at the bottom and that momentum at the bottom of the lift, but instead of loading the barbell onto pins, we're loading body onto a box. Same thing. You don't want to slam your body down onto the box, I mean, for obvious reasons. Think about sitting on a glass pane. You just want to be gentle on the sit down, and what it does is it helps increase that eccentric part of the lift where you're actually controlling the weight down, which is going to help you moving forward with a regular barbell squat where you're able to kind of use some momentum, use some stretch reflex. What we're doing here is we're kind of increasing the difficulty of the lift while not having to increase the weight on the bar, therefore mitigating some stress with the intensities and weights that the body's subjected to. So today we just did 2 sets of 290 for sets of 5. Again, dropped out the final set, so we only did 2 sets of volume work. But we kept in the ab movement and conditioning, same reps, same weights. So that was a good result. I'm impressed with that. I just didn't like the fact that I wasn't able to get an AMRAP set for that first set. But again, a little bit fatigued from the first set of Anderson squats and having failed that final attempt. Sorry about that. And with the whole theme of cutting things out, unfortunately I did not do any dynamic effort deadlifts for the final week just because time ran out and I was feeling super drained. Today, out of all days, today's workout only took an hour without having to do any dynamic effort lifts, but I guess that would have only been an hour and 10 minutes. It would have fit right into the time frame of the workout, but I was just feeling super drained, super fatigued. I didn't think it was constructive for me to perform the dynamic effort deadlifts. My lower back and legs were just not feeling great after the amount of work I did today. I don't know what that might be. It might have been lack of sleep, bad nutrition, who knows what. But I guess that's where it'll be better to take some logs, keep a diary of life outside of the gym so you can keep track of what's causing what. But again, that's something that's probably not that relevant. We could have probably pushed through this, but nevertheless, we dropped that last set out just because listening to my body, I didn't think it was going to be constructive to continue the workout. So that wraps it up for the first day of the last week. Like usual, I'll leave playlist right here so you can catch on the previous 8 weeks of the Darkhorse training program, as well as stay tuned for my final overall rating and review of the program. This has been Selwyn from Wynn Strength, and remember, a better life through strength.